I've had many mentors, and you know what's funny, and I would share. Here's a little trick. Mentors, and I would look at those successful people. I had a mentor. One of my favorite mentors was the fire chief in Phoenix. What a big dog that guy was, right? And so who was he to talk to me? And I approached him at a conference, and you know what? He was there. He had, and so I just kept going back, and I kept going back. And then there was the fire chief in Tempe, Arizona, where ASU is, it looks as though they're unapproachable, but people, what I have discovered, they love to be approached. They will share if you ask, and so that's important, and you can actually really capitalize on that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Career Services Presents Inside the Industry. Today's spotlight, we have Dr. Scott Rounds of the College of Business. Dr. Rounds, do you mind introducing yourself and the role that you're currently playing at Columbia Southern?
Well, certainly. I am Dr. Rounds, and I'm now the Academic Program Director for General Business. It's the undergraduate degree. And what I get to do is it's a very large program, probably the largest, if not equal to. We're very busy. We have professionals at all levels working to teach, engage, meet with students, look for success patterns, creating success for our students on all levels. My job is to support that. I'm the major supporter. I'm the communication between that group and the deans, upper administration. And so we just, if we ever have any challenges or we know what's happening in the environment around the country, we're able to stay on top of it, stay ahead of it, and work through those as we find them and rectify anything that needs to be fixed or support.
That's amazing. You do some great work for us. And I know you have a background in the fire services industry, so do you mind telling us a little bit about your experience?
Certainly. I started very young as a young person, and I got into a new field that simply was evolving. It was called paramedicine. Paramedicine in the 70s was brand new. It's this medicine in the streets that led me to the fires, which were first responders, and being out there in our community in Arizona. Paramedics are on fire trucks. And so I was able to, through the fire service and then working to be on a ladder truck, and it was just fascinating. And so when there was a challenge, a very hard challenge that was going on a response, they always called the ladder truck. So I really worked to get on that when I got on that. And so then we ended up, that ladder truck became a hazardous material team. And so the hazardous material team, we got to develop it. And then that led us to the special operations. So we developed that program, and so I got to be part of that. And so we grew it. And then as you start learning those things, then what happens is, what's next is you promote, and that those avenues opened up for me because of the work we had done and I had learned. Yeah, you start promoting, and you get to be an engineer and a captain, and then you get to be a battalion chief. And what that is it's kind of like a footprint on your responsibility. You start off with, my responsibility was the paramedic box, and then it went to a fire truck, and then it went to a fire crew, and then it went to multiple crews. And then when you get into the battalion chief realm and chief stuff, it's just bigger. You have a bigger footprint, and there's more to learn always. And then ultimately stepped into to be a fire chief for a number of years, and then actually just kept studying and learning. And I had the opportunity to be in the fastest growing city in the United States. And so we started studying with universities, and then I got to be a director of public safety. So that wrapped into a bigger footprint of working with police, fire, public works. The police chief went on to retire. And so then I was actually the police chief for a little while. So it's just very interesting. My career path has been extremely exciting and interesting. Keeps me thinking. And then back to the growth, when I was working with professors out of ASU, U of A, NAU, and the Smart Growth Initiatives, they said, what you need to do is you need to go back to school and start leading these yourself. You're there. And so that's how I got into the doctorate program and started leading that way, which led me to the next. I started teaching with CSU. Wonderful career, wonderful place, family. We're there for the student. How do we engage? Are we taking care of them? Someone has a challenge, a problem, and we solve those. We work at those all the time and still do. It just stayed curious and just kept moving forward.
You mentioned things like customer service and learning and training, but what would you say are some special skills for our students and alumni to know if they want to go into like the fire services industry?
Well, and I've been asked that. As whatever level I would be at, I'd be approached by different people that were also curious. And they would ask things like, it's funny how they do this too. What is the one thing I can do? What's the one thing that will make the difference? And the answer is read. Read everything, get your hands on. Read. I don't care if you're reading a cereal box or if you're reading somebody's dissertation. It doesn't matter. You're exercising your mind. It's much like you see physical fitness people, whether they're running incredible miles or they're lifting incredible weight. They didn't start there. They started, and they build it up, and your mind is much of the same way. And so, reading everything, get your hands on, and just stay curious. I think the thing that made a difference for me was I was able to remain passionate. I was passionate about customer service. I'm passionate about people, and it kept me curious. And there are always those days. I like to say that it's like you're stagnant, and so what can you do? And what you can do is look around and see who's successful. Everybody's successful differently. That's one way that you can stay passionate. You just keep curious. You learn, and the people that you're talking to, I think, appreciate the fact that you're asking them, because they are successful, and it's okay. Yeah.
I like how you said that about, just the different things that you've done over time, and how your career trajectory has kind of shifted, fire services, public administration, and now working in the College of Business. So did you always see yourself working in the fire services industry, or really ending up where you are now? Or how would you say that whole journey was shaped for you?
Well, it was shaped like one curiosity peg at a time. I look back, and if when I started as a paramedic, I was just so involved in it and learning it, there's no way I would have realized how I got where I am. But I think if there was a common denominator, it's whatever I was doing at the time. You just strive for excellence. You just want to be the best you can be, and that pays off. And that leads you to the next thing and the next thing. So yeah, when I started, I didn't have really any idea I'd be a professor teaching fire science. I would be in a assistant provost or a vice provost with student affairs. It just was out of sight. But the common denominators, I say, you just do the best you can do every day. There's a truism that when you make a decision or you're either working toward a goal or you're kind of working away from the goal. I mean, there's no status quo, and sometimes it's just going to school, and it could be one class. what's important about that, and I would share with you, when in the fire service, as I was doing that, others were not. And they would question me on that. It was kind of tough. I mean, it was real easy to maybe not go, but it seemed like the right thing to do. And one class led to another, and it just, those were my goals, and it worked. It paid off.
Yes, and you mentioned having to kind of take a look at those who were successful in different areas and how you learned from them. So do you currently, and have you had mentors who you would say have helped you professionally, and how would you say that they've helped you?
Oh, yes. On every level, starting, I got interested in paramedicine because there was a mentor out there. Mentor is a funny word, but it's somebody that cares about you, cares that says, hey, you can do this, and this is how, or you can go to and say, I have a challenge. So the answer to that question is simply, I've had many mentors, and you know what's funny, and I would share, here's a little trick, mentors, and I would look at those successful people. I had a mentor. One of my favorite mentors was the fire chief in Phoenix. What a big dog that guy was, right? And so who was he to talk to me? And I approached him at a conference, and you know what? He was there. And so I just kept going back, and I kept going back. And then there was the fire chief in Tempe, Arizona, where ASU is, it looks as though they're unapproachable, but people, what I have discovered, they love to be approached. They will share if you ask, and so that's important, and you can actually really capitalize on that. Now, as far as mentors go, I use that word for my wife. She mentors me. My son mentors me because they're thinkers. And I can ask them a question, and they'll tell me the truth. And sometimes it's not fun. Sometimes you get that truth and you're like, well, I disagree. Well, hey, you asked me, I'm just telling you, So many mentors. You talk to people, they give you ideas. They don't always have the sound black and white answer, but they can get you thinking. They can get you in the right path. It's like the professors when we were learning about smart growth. They gave us some ideas, but the thing that stuck with me is, Scott, you need to be studying this. You need to go to school, and that put me on that path, right? So many mentors at all levels, every day, and the key to that mentorship is that they care about you, not necessarily your job. They don't care about your house. They don't care about. You ask them a question, they're going to give you an honest answer for you. Yeah, absolutely. You got to have one. And I love it when people ask me questions, and I'll make that available at the end of this conversation because we can talk about those things. And it's all the ball's in your court at that point. Yeah, absolutely.
What would you say was the most challenging part of your career path? Was there ever a time you felt like you might have been stagnant, or you're kind of ready for the next thing, and it just kind of felt like a challenge to you?
Well, all of that, absolutely. I mean, I'm probably not the most patient person, and when I was younger, I simply was not. I wanted to know, I wanted it now, I wanted to get going, I'm ready to promote, and the smart ones that were mentors, they're just saying, slow down, learn this, go over here, but I was ready to go, and wanted to go fast, and so I think that was challenging for me personally, and patience in life, that kind of thing. It's that kind of person that I am, and maybe that's why the emergency response was so great for me, because it was like we responded now, we treated people now, and then they went to the hospital, we went back to the firehouse or something. So, but one of the challenges, I think, and I mentioned it earlier, as I was put on different paths, I started school, started reading all the time, and I that kind of set me aside from what my peers were doing, and in that fraternal organization that is a little bit disruptive, and they challenged me, wanted to know, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? What are you thinking about? And then you find out who your supporters are. Some people that, that you're all working together in very strong teams, and some would support that. Hey, Scott's just over there reading, let him alone. He's doing his thing. We're going to do our thing. Where others would try to disrupt. And that was a little bit challenging, but we worked through it, as you stay focused. So did I answer that question? Was that?
You did. You
okay.
did. You definitely did.
I get a little bit verbose, man. I get to talk, so you can interrupt me. That's fine.
We see your passion, and I love it. So what's a piece of advice that you would give to our students and alumni, just something that they can take with them as they're on this journey of trying to do school and to reach their career goals?
Well, I think I've said it probably multiple different ways, but having a mentor, having mentors is key. Reading everything you can get your hands on, and it doesn't have to be like arduous. It doesn't have to be tough reading, man. I mean, read something you enjoy, exercise your brain, and you'll want more, and you'll want more and more. And then, as you start to develop and you recognize a focus for that pattern, for that passion, then it starts taking shape, but it never fully forms. It never did for me. It just kind of got me into something new, and then it got me over here on this side. So, I think that, and there are days, to be quite frank, I mean, there are days that are tough. What am I doing today? And sometimes what you can do, first off, is you set some goals, and they don't have to be gigantic. I mean, you have long-term goals, you have some short-term goals, but have some goals that are fun. And then you'll want to do it, and you'll want to get out, and you'll want to go to school. And hey, I finished that class, man. That's one down. I just got a couple more to go. And so you just keep going. It's not necessarily gigantic leaps, but every day you're moving forward in that direction. And now there was a saying when I was coming up that if you would just read on a particular subject for, I think it was 10 or 15 minutes a day, that's it. I mean, that's a commercial on TV. If you did that in 1 year's time, you would be the expert in that subject. And then you're going to be looking, well, what else is there? What else is there? And pretty soon you find that you're going to school to write that, and you are that. And that's how that happens. That's how it comes. So I was lucky enough to have those mentors shape that and guide me. I had asked them the craziest questions, and they would come back, we just had good conversations. That's really what it is.
I definitely think, our students could benefit from maybe asking you some questions. And I know you mentioned providing your contact information. So what's the best way that our students and alumni can contact you if they have any questions?
Well, I think there's two ways, right? I mean, really there's three, but my phone rings so often that, I don't know how, and I'm in meetings, so I can't really get to the phone. But the other way is our email. It's scott.browns@columbiasouthern.edu. And I'm talking with students all the time. I'm talking with people all the time, and it's wonderful, enjoyable. And I think that's even a different way of looking at it. It's my way of giving back, and I enjoy that immensely.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rounds. We greatly appreciate all that you do for Columbia Southern University, and for taking the time today to answer a few questions so our students and alumni can get to know you a little bit better.
Well, thank you for your time. This is wonderful. We're doing good things. Thank you.
You're welcome.